Can we admit people in so that we can start? Good afternoon, everyone. Please confirm you can hear me clearly from wherever you are connecting from.
Good afternoon, Ayadeji. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh,
Yes,
fantastic.
we can hear you very, very well.
Oh, thank you very much. You're all welcome to today's webinar. And I'm sure all of us, we are excited and we'll be looking at egg or chick building cyber talents. And our program would follow this particular sequence today. I'm sure we all know that we bringing in different people from different parts of the world to join this particular session. So we look, I'm sure our guests are already been admitted into this particular room for this session. I would have to take also the purpose and the benefit of ISC2, then introduce our guest speaker. We have the presentation. We quickly run through the questions and answers. We'll take our pictures, the vote of thanks, then we are going to conclude. But I would like to start by saying this. There are only two fundamental requirements for success in life. That is quoting Sebastian Spreng-Kresge. And the first thing he mentioned, which is important to success, is decide what you want. And deciding on what you want today can be likened or termed the egg. The second thing he said is determine the price you have to pay to get it and resolve to pay for it, which I can liken to as the chick. But we are going to go deep into all these revelations to better understanding of what is referred to as the egg or the chick as we go into the conversation for today. So we go straight into it by telling us certain things we need to know about ISC2. The International Information Systems Security Certification Consortium is a non-profit organization which specializes in training and certifications for cybersecurity professionals. It has been described as the world's largest IT security organization. Now, for ISC2, the Nigerian chapter, who are we? This is a body of highly sought global security professionals and practitioners, which have a core mandate of improving the skills of security professionals in the industry through awareness and platform discussions, which this particular webinar is one in which we want to achieve this particular objective. The Nigerian chapter of the ISC2 has received twice in a row the chapter recognition for the EMEA region for the best chapter in the region. So that is what we stand for. And by joining this particular organization or by getting to associate with this association, this is what you need to benefit. Now, the first thing is to ensure that we continue to connect like-minded individuals in Nigeria, both those that have ISC2 credential holders and the non-credential holders. The other thing which is important for us in ISC2, the Nigerian chapter, is to ensure that we educate and inspire them through knowledge sharing garnered from attending meetings, events, and study groups offered by the ISC2 Nigerian chapter. And ultimately, the final goal will be to secure and protect the cyberspace of our various communities. So this is what we stand for, and this is what you tend to benefit once you decide to be a member of this great organization. And today, we have decided to bring someone on board that would assist with achieving parts of these our objectives. And I would like to welcome each and every one of us to this particular occasion. And I want you to go to the chat window and just tell me wherever you are connecting from. For example, if you are in Lagos, Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, I want to know where people are connecting from so that we can have this also as part of what will be used for subsequent webinars that we'll be hosting. So just kindly go into the chat window and type Lagos, Nigeria, Nairobi, Kenya, or wherever you are connecting from, just to understand the coverage of the particular session we have today. Without wasting further time, I would like to introduce our guest speaker for today. This is someone that is known far and wide within this particular industry. I am talking about Confidence Stavely. Confidence is a cybersecurity professional, a cybersecurity awareness advocate. She has attended different programs, different people have invited her for several occasions. She is also a World Economic Forum Global Shaper alumni, an author, and an entrepreneur with a decade's worth of experience in technology. She has achieved numerous professional certifications and industry recognitions, part of which include the following: the Cybersecurity Woman of the Year 2021 award winner, IFSEC Global Top Influencer in Security and Fire in 2021, Top 50 Women in Cybersecurity Africa 2020, and also she was named as the Young CISO of the Year Award 2021 winner, and recently named a 2021 African Obama Leader. Confidence is the founder and executive director of CyberSafe Foundation, a leading non-governmental organization dedicated to providing inclusive and safe digital access in Africa. With a very loud ovation, ladies and gentlemen, I have the singular honor of bringing to your screen today Confidence Stavely. Please let's put the hands together. You can use the emojis on Zoom just to welcome her. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
Confidence
you so much, Deji.
can take over.
That's such a warm welcome. And I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be having the privilege to speak to, such a very, very interesting range of people. And I'm saying interesting because I'm also assuming that we have a mix of established and accomplished cybersecurity professionals, and we have possibly some entry-level people as well here. So maybe just to establish who the audience is, please do me a favor and possibly say who you are in the chat box. Are you an accomplished professional, possibly working in the field right now, or are you one looking to get into the industry? Please use the chat box. And oh, thank you so much. Someone is talking about logo for Maga. Yeah, so thank you so much. Just share. Oh, we see Nabila joining us from Manchester. We see Daniel from the UK. Thank you so much for joining in. So I'm going to move on straight to my slides while I wait for those feedbacks to come in about, who you are, and so we can sort of get a good appreciation of the audience. I've been introduced already, so I'm not going to go into that, but my name is Confidence Stavely, and I thank Deji for pronouncing my name correctly. I rarely get that to happen. And today I'm going to be speaking about egg or chick, building cyber talent. Is it possible for people to unmute their mics at any point? Just asking so that I can know what to expect, because I like people interacting with me. I don't like to talk at people. So maybe we are going to use the chat box if you're not able to unmute your mics. But I'd like for you to share what your expectations also are for this session while I go through the points which I'm going to be covering, so that I can ensure that I am meeting everybody's everybody's desire or desired outcomes for this session. So I see that we have a senior cybersecurity consultant. Daniel, thank you so much for sharing. I see that Joke is an entry-level cybersecurity analyst. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Please, more as you come in, just introduce yourself. I see TJ is an IT professional, which means he's not exactly already in cybersecurity, but maybe looking at the field as a point, as an area of specialization, an area of focus in his journey. Thank you so much, Joke, Daniel, and Temitope, as well as TJ that have shared. Okay, so for this particular session, I'm going to be touching on the state. I'm going to be starting off with the state of cyber workforce in the world. So what is the world saying? You know, when young people say, what's up? You know, what's up with the cyber workforce in the world? And also, I want to touch on the state of cyber workforce in Africa and Nigeria specifically. So in our local environment, I know that people joining us from other parts of the world, but I'm narrowing it down as well. So some people joining us from Lagos, Nigeria, from Kenya, Nairobi, you know, any part of Africa, and specifically Nigeria as well. And I'll also be touching on, you know, the egg is, describing who the egg is, so that we are able to contextualize our conversation today. And we're also going to establish who Chick is. And I'm also going to be sharing what we must become, you know, to be able to wade the storms I'm going to be speaking about very soon. Thank you so much, Samuel, for sharing, you know, who you are. Thank you, Doe, as well, for introducing yourself. Please, I like the energy in this room. Let's keep it up. Let's keep it up. Thank you so much. I'm also going to be touching on the future of cyber from the perspective of talent. Okay, so now this is the state of the cyber workforce, globally speaking. We have, by the last survey that is most widely accepted, we have about 3.5 million of field cybersecurity roles. And this continues to be a critical vulnerability for companies and nations. So I think I'm hearing myself. Can we help with that? I seem to be hearing myself, and it's a bit distracting. Okay, I can't hear myself anymore. I just muted some mics. Okay, great. So I was saying something about the on-field cybersecurity roles, and because these roles are on field or are taking such a long time to field globally, I believe that it's a very critical vulnerability because, like we all know, we have three major pillars in cybersecurity. We have people, we have process, and we have technology. If we have technology and we have processes, but we don't have the people to drive those processes or implement those processes and use the technology to implement cybersecurity strategies, then, you know, we will definitely be very vulnerable as organizations. And speaking as nations as well, there's critical infrastructure to protect. There's a citizenry to protect as well. If we do not have the people to drive these things, then the technology and the processes will not drive themselves and become futile. So the effort will become futile. There's also, you know, and again, you can contribute to the chat section as well, what you believe to be the state of the cyber workforce. I'm going to be looking at the chat boxes as well. Another key thing we see across the world, generally speaking, is that we have so many exhausted, drained, disenfranchised, sleep deprived, overworked professionals everywhere, and they're littered in our different organizations. Now, why is that so? Because most departments, you you find people doing multiple roles. One person coming in as an incident responder and ending up being many other things in the mix. So that person also adds on threat intelligence, adds on some cases compliance work, adds on a lot of things. So we come in with one role and end up being octopuses within our organizations, and that makes us overworked, sometimes underappreciated, sometimes sleep deprived. It's more like Now, who sent me this work self, you know? So we have a lot of those these things happening across the world. So it's not a Nigerian specific problem. I interact with people across the world in the industry, and I get this common theme. Okay, they just also saying you can share your questions in the chat box. So yes, that's very welcome. So you might think, okay, so there's Brexit, so what? How does it concern me? How does it concern the cyber workforce? The Russians are playing the Russian roulette right now in Ukraine. How does that concern me? How does the war in Russia, you know, affect me, you know, in Africa? Or how does the war in Russia affect me in the UK? Because we saw a lot of people mentioning that, sorry, some people mentioning that they're joining us from the UK, you know. But the truth is that these global events are causing a shift in the cyber workforce. And I'm going to be showing you more about that. But let me start with a very simple example. If we look at, you know, what the different things that be happening in terms of skill shortage and the way recruitment is happening currently, I'll be touching on that more on my next slide, but you will find that there's a lot of head hunting happening. That's because there's a skill shortage that the Brexit is causing as well, that's impacting other parts of the world and impacting different industries. We also know that the Russians are, you know, someone said they always fear dirty, you know, and, you know, there'll be a lot of attacks launched in the coming days after the invasion we are currently witnessing, you know, as the invasion we're currently witnessing, you know, progresses into a full-blown war. The countries that are backing the Russian position, which is, of course, Ukraine, will definitely get their fair share of attacks. Those attacks, like we can see with SolarWinds, Log4j, and many other attacks, will trickle down the supply chain. And by trickling down the supply chain, it means that an example like Kaseya, where a ransomware attack that happened in the US can affect organizations large and small and medium in Nigeria, large and small and medium in Ghana, large and small and medium in Kenya. And so you see how these events that happen somewhere else cascade. While there are social political events and all sorts of other global events, they cascade and then impact the cyber workforce and impact, you know, how much workload. Some people were saying recently that, you know, let's all just, you know, someone was saying, if you work in the cyberspace in America, just fast and pray right now, you know, because there will be a spree of attacks. And in the coming days, this overwhelmed and overworked pattern we are seeing going to be triple, because a lot of people need to begin to look at different things, need to begin to look at their DMZs, look at their firewalls, really look at the traffic coming in, ensure that there are no phony C2 calls being made, and people are looking at the patterns and all the other things that people need to watch in the coming days, given what Russia is capable of. And we also know, I mean, there's some school of thought also coming up that, you know, the SolarWinds attacks and the Log4js and all of those could just have been preambles to ensuring that vulnerability exists globally for Russia to actually launch this kind of attacks. Now, this is not by any chance an opinion of the ISC squared. I'm saying that, and it's not also an opinion that is confirmed. I'm saying these are school of thought. So just to put the disclaimer out there very strongly. But you see, I'm just basically showing linkages of possibilities where global events in other parts of the world impact the cyber workforce and impact many other things that can touch on the people that work in cybersecurity. Another key thing I want to mention around the state of the cyber workforce is a survey that was done by CSIS, and the survey, you know, looked at IT employers and found that only 23% thought education programs were fully preparing students to enter the cybersecurity industry. And I mean, there are also researches that show that there's confidence being lost gradually in the efficacy of a cybersecurity degree, because again, employers surveyed across the world are beginning to say, oh, people with those degrees are not exactly prepared for the workforce because they're not giving hands-on training. The information that the curricula is not exactly for the workforce. These people, for example, may not necessarily have the strong soft skills such as communication, such as teamwork, that we all know are very important, almost as important as the hard skills themselves. So these are the issues globally affecting the cyber workforce. Now, again, I'm saying this to say that we need to also look at them and look at them in the context of our immediate environment. This is the Nigeria chapter, so that's why there's a need to cascade the impact down, bringing it back home. Because when we see 3.5 million jobs, it looks like it's just America, it's just Australia, that these issues are happening. But back home, there is a talent drain. I call it the mass exodus that's happening. Now, while cybersecurity is one of the areas impacted, there are many other areas impacted as well. But cybersecurity is bleeding talent currently. Now, shortly before I came on to speak, when I got the invitation to speak at this very esteemed organization, IC² Nigeria chapter, I did a little survey. And I surveyed 50 cybersecurity professionals. And in the sample that I was able to pull, I saw that 3 in 5 of these cybersecurity professionals in Nigeria were, had either relocated or were planning to do so in 6 months. So what that means is that if you look at your sphere of friends, for example, you could find that 3 in 5 of your friends are either, I would say what we say in Nigeria, they're going to Dakar, they've either gone to Australia, they're going to Germany, they're going to the UK. And I think this 3 in 5 is very conservative, because in my own little sphere, I see that this number, this for me realistically should be around 4 out of 5. So that means that there is a mass exodus. That means in 6 months, we will have at least half of the roles that are currently filled already with cybersecurity professionals being empty. Now, that is cause for worry. And like I said to you, again, they're already on filled roles. You're struggling to fill those roles. And then the people that already filled them, they're going to have problems, in terms of replacing them, because they're now going to be vacant. And which, like I've established earlier, is a vulnerability. Because if you do not have people to implement the programs, and we have these global events that we're looking at, we have these different things that are affecting us from outside Nigeria, outside Africa, and cascading back home. And then we're still losing the people. And we're still losing the people that need to secure our organizations. Then there is a problem. I would say it in PJ Wahala Day, So again, those are the things that are the issues. The next key issue I want to touch on is heavy-head hunting. I can't tell you how many times I have received offers from outside of Nigeria, very targeted. And this is not because I'm just a fantastic person, This is happening across board, and this is what leading to this mass exodus. So while we have professionals seeking greener pastures, we also have recruiters looking inwards in Africa and trying to get talent out of here. In fact, there are programs, there are policies by countries, by different countries, trying to pull talent out of Africa, because it makes economic sense for them. It makes economic sense for both the people trying to take the talent and the people trying to migrate. And like I said, for example, the Brexit, for example, is backed, it now has a policy that backs this headhunting that is happening, because then there are now programs and policies, to get people outside of England to move in and take up the opportunities in the tech space. So there are now policies, there are special programs to ease this migration. Now, while this is looking like all well and good for one party, it just means that another party is hemorrhaging talent. And it was quite interesting, for example, to see the president of our country, Nigeria, actually go to a global stage and say, you guys should calm down now, rather give us funding so we can create more opportunities within my home country. My home country is losing talent and stuff like that. So that's a conversation that at the presidency level has become something for advocacy on the global scale. So let's not be silent about it anymore. It is happening, and we should not be taken by surprise. We should not sit down and fold our hands either. We need to begin to be more proactive in ensuring that these things don't hurt organizations worse than they are currently, and will hurt organizations in the near future. Now, interestingly, also, there's a scarcity of entry-level roles. Now, what is truly an entry-level role? An entry-level role is one that requires 0 to 1 year work experience. So we barely have this kind of roles. And so, okay, I'm going to hire someone that has the fundamental understanding of computing, has this XYZ skills that are maybe soft skills, understands how networks talk to themselves, and is ready to learn on the job, and will be doing XYZ things that are truly entry level. Rather, we find openings more and more that are asking for certain certifications that require even 2 years or 5 years work experience to even get those certifications in the first place. I mean, it's never an entry-level role when you're asking for the CISSP as a certification for someone to qualify for that role. Or you're asking for other certifications that are truly not entry level. So you find that there's scarcity of these kind of roles. If you're following me and you're enjoying this presentation, can you just type 1 in the chat box? Just type 1 really quickly. That's the numeric 1. Just type 1 in the chat box. Let's see who is following. Thank you so much, Olamide. Thank you, Deji. Thank you, TJ. Okay, the ones are coming in more frequently. Tayo, Adedayo, Idowu. Okay, so I have a lot of people following me. Thank you so much for interacting. Sarah, Chinedu, Mayowa, thank you so much. Okay, great. So now, while we have a scarcity of entry-level roles, to be filled, we also have it's becoming increasingly difficult to fill mid-level and senior roles in cybersecurity. So if, for example, you want to get somebody who has experience and knowledge in DevSecOps, for example, it typically is going to take you, it's typically going to take you between 2 to 3 months as we speak to get somebody quality to fill that role. Now, that's indicative of a lot of things, but I won't go too deep into that. And like I mentioned earlier, there's an increased supply chain risk with the Russian roulette that is being played, for example. We are going to increasingly see these attacks being cascaded down in different forms. It doesn't have to just be malware, it doesn't just have to be ransomware, but other types of malware and other types of attacks as well. So this increased supply chain risk and increased cyber attacks of different kinds and nature is something that we're also seeing across Africa and across Nigeria. Now, the one we don't talk about too much, because we don't exactly, some people don't exactly see the correlation between that and cybersecurity directly. But I want to tell you that with a lot of startups raising a lot of money, the startup industry, or the tech industry is booming in Nigeria. We are only in February, and African startups have raised $1 billion already. $1 billion. That's very impressive. More organizations every day, literally, you're just seeing someone's raising like, $3 million. A few days ago, an organization, a Nigerian unicorn raised, I think, over $400 million, about that amount, something very huge. And so we're having this kind of big valuations and everything happening within the space. What this means is that there are new entrants, and these new entrants are bringing technology that most likely will need integration in our solutions and with our different organizations. Some of them, will integrate with banks. Some of them will integrate with different other organizations, just to, in a very, very connected world, be able to deliver consolidated value. You see, those connections and those different things increases the attack surface. Increases the attack surface, increases the complexity and the complexity of attacks that come in, increases the sophistication of even controls that need to be put in place, and planning out our cybersecurity strategies. It increases what is required to protect the organization. It increases that in many folds, in different ways. So all of these are things that people still need to run. People need to deploy the technology. People need to put in the controls to ensure that while we are reaping the benefits of integration and technology and the startup boom that's happening, the birth of new unicorns, that we also are not exposing ourselves to cyber attacks we're not ignorant of the fact that we need to mitigate the risk that is involved. So you see, this leapfrogging of startups and everything is a fantastic thing. but also create a pull and strain on the cyber workforce. If there's anyone who doesn't agree with me on this, I mean, you can use the chat box and we can definitely touch base with you and also talk about it. Good. So someone is asking a very good question, and we're going to get to that. So he's asking, I think Samuel is an enthusiast, said, how will one enter into the cybersecurity world with no prior work experience? And trust me, Samuel, that is the next problem I'm going into. So while there's this strain on the cyber workforce caused by all of these factors, I think I have only included some of the top factors. If I was to go on, I will put more and more factors that are going to be causing all this. I'm going to show the strain that the cyber workforce currently has to all consider. I mean, this is aside these particular factors that I'm mentioning, right? These are the core things that are causing the impact on the skill shortage. Cybersecurity spending is one of them. You know, everybody is trying to watch their budget. I mean, cybersecurity is in many organizations not yet seen as the value point. So it's like the necessary evil, the thing you have to just do. And CISOs across the world are increasingly trying to show cybersecurity as a business enabler, not just as a cost, as a cost point. So, you know, where you just splurge, and you know it's not making money for the organization in that way. So again, these are the things. And so we know that cybersecurity, you know, tools and cybersecurity workforce isn't exactly cheap. And so cybersecurity spending is also competing in terms of you know, priority spending with many other things within the organization. And, you know, somebody said something the other day that I was laughing at. I mean, this is a joke that's gone on for quite a while. They said the cybersecurity budget before a cyber attack, $100,000. The cybersecurity budget after an attack, $1 million. And you wonder, is it not the same organization? You know, how come this budget wasn't made available to ensure that the cyber attack doesn't happen in the first place? But you see, increasingly as well, we're finding that cybersecurity budgets are more reactive than proactive. And so CISOs are increasingly struggling to do the best with the resources they have. We also have education and training, which I have mentioned earlier on, that is a challenge. You know, universities are churning out graduates of computer science that, you know, may not exactly have strong fundamental skills and hands-on training on that in the first place. So you have people coming to the workforce that don't understand the competing fundamentals. The knowledge is not up to date to be able to compete, except for people who self-teach themselves a lot of things. We also have the same thing for cybersecurity degrees. I have mentioned earlier on that a lot of people are having cybersecurity degrees that are not giving them hands-on training. And I'll give you a case in point. My organization, CyberSlave Foundation, launched a program called Cyber Girls last year, where it's a fellowship. We're trying to drive inclusion and get more women into cybersecurity. And so we try to reach upstream to get young girls in. And so we had this lady called Jane, and she's studying cybersecurity in uni somewhere in Nigeria. And she says, you know what? And when we asked her why she joined the fellowship, and she said, oh, in school, she studied a lot of theory around cybersecurity. This is somebody studying to gain a BSc in cybersecurity. And she said she joined the fellowship because she believes that she's going to get practical hands-on training. And you see, this is one person, but this is not a problem of just Nigeria. There are also surveys across the world that point to this as well. Deji, please, can you tell me when I'm running out of time, because I don't want to talk too much, and I can sometimes talk, you know, a lot and spill past my time, but I want to make sure that my time management is great here and I give enough time for us to answer the questions. So there's also employer dynamics. I mean, I mentioned that people are overworked, you know, doing multiple jobs at the same time. Some places are not exactly great in terms of rewarding and incentivizing good behavior and healthy work ethics, and all of the other things that comes with, you know, some employers. So the employer dynamics as well. We also have government policies. I mean, there are labor laws, there are different things that are standing in the way. There are policies that, for example, are not, you know, there's a lack of policies, for example, and implementation of those policies to really drive investment in skills acquisition within cybersecurity. And I mean, this is not also a Nigerian thing alone. There are things that a lot of countries are going through at the moment. So now, who is the egg? I think we already seen an example of an egg here. Somebody was talking about, how do I get into cyber? This is a problem. So how do I get into industry? How do I get to land my first job? This is something that has been, asked, multiple times. But this is my picture of an egg. Cybersecurity enthusiast without a cybersecurity or computer science degree, possibly in another field, person is self-taught. Sorry, that's a mistake. That's a typo. I'm going to correct it. Self-taught. Thought shouldn't be spelled that way. I'm going to correct it. It should be spelled T-A-U-G-H-T. So I'm going to correct it. Maybe the person is self-taught, has been using TryHackMe, has been using Cyber Ranges, has been using many other platforms, to teach themselves about these things that, possibly earned, a certification, different things, just to ensure that, they gain some knowledge. So they can also show you, they are also demonstrating hunger for knowledge. These guys are energetic, they want to learn a lot. They can show there are many badges on different learning platforms on Coursera and the other places. So they have a demonstrated history of extensive learning, but they have zero work experience, just like someone in here asked. I mean, I think that was Samuel, all prior work experience. And I'm going to go back to answering that question. But they have a good understanding of the computing and information security fundamentals. And I'm adding this because this is by no chance an excuse for us to say, okay, you know what, we definitely, because we don't have eggs that generally people who don't understand anything in cyber or don't have the fundamentals, confidence said we should open our doors to them. I'm not opining that. I'm not advocating for that. My definition of an egg is people like this ones. They do not have experience. They are hungry for knowledge. They may not have a computer science degree or may have it. But they have this fundamental knowledge going for them, and they just want to be able to come in and gain experience. These are the eggs. Now I'm going to tell you why they are the eggs. But the trick, the tricks, for example, and like we know that the whole conversation, I don't know that, for example, God may have created, I don't know how God created the order, but did he have an egg on earth and then the egg hatched and became a chick? So there's a hatching process that needs to happen before this chick is birthed. This chick holds numerous certifications, may have a computer science degree or a cybersecurity degree, or a degree that sort of supports this particular this particular industry. Thank you so much, Deji. I see that the time is ticking, but I'm enjoying myself, and I'm sure everybody is. We're going to make sure we stick to time. This person also has years of work experience in the field. This person can hit the ground running because they have done it before somewhere else. And so we're talking about, some things and how to do configurations, how to set this up, how to design this infrastructure, how to design a network in such a way that it's secure, how to deploy solutions. They most likely have done it before in their previous jobs, or what I like to call their previous lives. So they are able to continue doing it. I'm hearing myself again. So this is the trick. But how would you have somebody with 5 years of work experience if somebody did not take the chance on them at 0 years of work experience, but demonstrated knowledge of the fundamentals? How would you have somebody who knows how to use the systems, how to deploy solutions, if someone else has not given them an opportunity to deploy those solutions? So these are the issues. How would somebody gain a certification that requires 5 years work experience if somebody has not given them work experience, but you're requiring them to have that certification at entry level? I mean, these are the issues, and that's where egg and chick conversations comes in. So if we are not able to ensure that our eggs become chicks, we will not have chicks in the first place, is what I'm trying to say. And speaking to that as well, I want to highlight some things that in the near future will become trends. And automation of mundane tasks with more proliferation of AI tools will soon become increasingly accepted. I also believe that with the high demand of cybersecurity professionals, there will be changes to labor laws to allow for cross-border outsourcing of cyber functions. of certain cyber functions and some cybersecurity task as well will be outsourced increasingly because labor laws will change. Labor laws around age, around qualification for certain roles will begin to change. We'll also have more virtual security roles coming in. I mean, a few years ago, we did not have, for example, a virtual CISO, right? That is something that had become a thing. And when we start saying, oh, VCISO, that's exactly what it is. So that's to support small enterprises or people who may not be able to afford to have a CISO on ground. So we have all of these things that are coming up, but trust me, there'll be way more virtual cybersecurity roles or information security roles coming up. We'll also have failing bond programs. I know a lot of us run bond programs right now. So I'm going to train you, or as you come in, you have to spend 3 years with the organization, 2 years with the organization. It is great. It's being proactive to ensure you're protecting yourself. But what I'm going to say is those programs will begin to fail increasingly more because, again, if you say there's a penalty for taking someone or someone moving jobs, we'll increasingly find employers somewhere else who are ready to pay those bonds. And you see, it will be increasingly more difficult to retain talent. So I don't want us to have a beer parlor conversation. You know what a beer parlor conversation is? It's where somebody's talking about all the problems of Nigeria. Our leaders are bad. They are evil. They keep doing this, doing that, but there is no solution. Now we're going to be talking about what we must do as leaders, what we must become to wade the storm. And also what we must be doing as, although this, I'm not going to be speaking about it in the slide, but I'm going to be sharing what we must do, to start people like Samuel who are enthusiasts trying to get into the industry. So first, I want to say that we must first be humans. What do I mean by being humans? Right? We must first think about the professional as a human being. So in our departments that we're heading, in our teams that we're heading, in different capacity that we are working with other people, we should remember that they are all human beings. And so when we're trying to drive retention of people, we're trying to drive retention of our cyber ninjas, we should remember the human component. Now, why do I say we should remember the human component? What matters to that person should matter to you as an employer or a leader of that team. And we should increasingly strive for the growth of the people that work with us, to drive loyalty and be able to keep the people that work with us. While this may not always work, because again, priorities will change, people are generally selfish and la-di-la-di-la, but we must first try this also as a strategy for retention. Another key thing is we must also all be cyber talent factories. We need to begin to produce more talents that we actually need. And proactively so, we need to create more than we need. We need to create the programs that will drive these talents that we need to fill these roles. Like now we're saying we don't have mid-level, but mid-level one day two was entry level at some point. We need to begin to proactively create training programs externally and internally within organizations, and do that for posterity and for the fact that we need those talents to protect our organizations. We also need to be contributors and creators to feed the talent pipeline. I want to challenge us all here in our different capacities. After leaving this program, prioritize providing mentorship to someone within your organization or outside of the organization. Do what you can to answer questions of people that are trying to get into the industry. Send resources to people that are at your disposal. Grow people intentionally within your organization. Open the doors for people working in other parts of the organization to move into your cybersecurity department. We need to all be creators and contributors to feeding the talent pipeline. How many of us have gone to secondary schools before to talk about the different opportunities in cybersecurity? And tech as a whole? It's very important that we're doing this because our children are saying, what do you want to be in future? I want to be a doctor, because what they know is not, they know being a medical doctor, they know being a doctor, they know these things now. So we need to tell them also that, what do you want to be? One of them will answer at some point, I want to be a cybersecurity professional. Those are all things we need to begin to concern ourselves with. We need to be advocates and champions of the changes in our laws and the different things that affect our hiring process. Within our organizations, we have gatekeepers. Are we speaking to HR about the things that really matter to us and how we can proactively grow talent and proactively get fresh talent in? Hungry people that are hungry, not hungry people per se, people that are hungry for the knowledge and want to grow within the organization, or they're just gatekeepers. we need to be open-minded to the change that will come. And I'm going to speak more about this very soon if I have the time. We need to help drive adoption of entry-level certifications in the hiring process. At this point, I want to stop and comment AIC squared, because recently, there's a certification, entry-level certification launch in response to data that was collected from different surveys that showed that this was required. And I looked at the certification, the learning outline, and it's fantastic for a startup. In fact, we are currently seeking a partnership with AIC Squared to be able to give that to the ladies on our program. But this is increasingly something that we need to add to our hiring processes across organization. Instead of asking for phony proofs of the fact that people have gained foundational skills that are required to even get started. These kind of entry-level certifications, which are not just entry-level from the learning, but also the pricing. And I'm going to go back, I'm going to say that again, because a lot of our certifications are priced in a way that we are pricing out new entrants who may not have the savings to be able to even afford those certifications. So it's very important that we are able to drive the implementation and adoption of entry-level certifications in our hiring process. The next thing I want to talk about is that we need to be able to weight the storm by expanding apprenticeship programs. If within your organization, for example, you have the opportunity. Okay, great. I'm wrapping up very soon. So apprenticeship programs are a key thing that we need to look at. If you don't have an internship program running within your organization, this is your cue to create one. We need to work on study offerings for students as well. We need to create sandboxes to help groom talent. So yeah, we're asking for apprentices to come to your organization and everything, but people will be cautious and say, I don't want people to come and press spoil. I don't even know what it means to press spoil. Come and just, maybe by one mistake, clear some configurations on, something that's been done, or, those kind of things. So we need to be able to create those sandboxes that ensure that while we're giving this opportunity to the entry level, we don't hurt our organizations as well. We need to redefine the minimum credentials for entry-level jobs and begin to possibly accept non-traditional sources of education. I mean, it's interesting, but I want to highlight at this point that there is going to be disruption, massive disruption of what the requirements will be in the next few years. I mean, case in point is cyber girls, for example. We have some of our girls living straight out our doors and getting jobs. Sorry, excuse me. And getting jobs. So that's some disruption that's going to be happening, because non-traditional sources of education will become a thing as we try to get more people into the fold. There's also evolution of skills for automation, and we need to collect and consolidate data that better help us better develop metrics around these other programs and every other thing that we're talking about, both as bodies, the AIC Squared is, as organizations, what's working for us in terms of the talent and development and all of this kind of thing. So yeah, this is something that we need to.
Hello, Confidence. Sorry, I guess we have some network challenges. Just hold on. Should be back shortly.
Okay. Sorry, I'm back, but I'm back on a different device. So I think, Deji, this is where you come in just to show my conclusion, and we close out with my section of talking with just me taking the question. I experienced the power outage, so Wi-Fi cut me out. I think in conclusion, I mean, if you can show my slides, Deji, do you have them?
You can just find a way to wrap up now so that we can go into the questions and answers section. I already have the questions. Just wrap up.
All right, that's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to start the questions from here so that you can use it to wrap up. So the first question, you
Sorry,
already
I'm just going to give my last
line of thought. Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, so as a conclusion, I just want to say that the countries and companies that that we all belong to have to act really quickly to fix the problem of facilitating entry of more people into the cybersecurity profession as a whole. So you have to be that change agent that needs to happen. And then, generally speaking, we need to get these people in through improvements in education, through workforce diversity, through training opportunities. I mean, like I said, within the organization still, people trying to transition into tech from other parts of organization or transition into cybersecurity from other professions should be given a hand. And the data collection as a whole as well should be able to concurrently, all of these efforts concurrently, be able to help with increasing cyber talent and defeating cybersecurity threats. Thank you so much. I think I'll begin to take the questions now.
Wow. Thank you very much, Confidence, for that. What happened was just the disruption. You were talking about the disruption and you yourself, you got disrupted. So we'll go quickly into the questions now. The first question, I think you've already answered that particular question, talking about getting into the cybersecurity workspace without prior experience. I think you already stated and given direction with respect to that. I would like to take the second question that says that we have lots of executive management still finding it difficult to build a robust and sound security architecture that is to combat cyber attacks and thereabouts, especially within the financial institutions. The question is, what can be done on this so that they can come in terms with security as its way? That's the person's question.
Okay, so I would say that again, because the resources are very scarce, we need to get creative in terms of how we're getting the resources to work. And I said something about virtual roles, for example, in some cases, where required outsourcing in some cases, but then intentionally building talent by allowing entry-level people in. Instead of some of the things you've said, while strategy will definitely never be entry level, right? Because it takes level of experience to be able to get to that point, to be able to build strategies and stuff like that. Implementation at different degrees may be able to allow for some people to grow in the ladder as these things are happening and some overlooking. So I think a combination of these different ways may be able to help financial institutions. Again, very mindful of the fact that financial institutions are very highly regulated. So this regulation may be a buzzkill, but if there's regulation, then there should be funding for these kind of creative approaches, because that's the only way we can survive right now. I mean, I just showed the fact that I did a survey and then 3 out of 5 of the people, 3 or 5, like in every 3 people, in every 5 people that were surveyed, 3 people had JAPA plans or already JAPA. So really, we need to begin to get proactive around these things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Confidence. So I'm going to ask a question. When are you JAPAing also?
I go ahead, bro. So for
okay. Okay, no problem. We'll keep that much later. So let me add this final question, and it's 2 in 1. The person asks that we have many online resources, both free and paid. Where does one start from? And I'm sure you have numerous of these online resources. So can there be a kind of direction on where the person is going to start from? So there's now an addition to that question. The question is very interesting. How does one know that he or she will do well in cybersecurity?
I think I'll start with the second part of the question.
Please go ahead.
I always generally do that. So I think that one way that you will know that you should be in cyber security is one, you have the interest, right? You have you have interest in the industry, and I would say you understand what the industry means. Like, what do we do here? Do we carry gun and stand at the gate and ensure that nobody comes in, through the gate, or are we doing this virtually, for example? What does cybersecurity really entail? You need to be able to know that. So you need to know what the industry stands for and what we do here, right? The next and maybe most important part is, oops. Okay, I think I'll go back to my computer. You need to be one who is not tired of learning. I think this is the most humbling part of InfoSec. There is nobody that will tell you that I know it all. In fact, anybody, someone said something somewhere that said, anybody that said they know it all in InfoSec, that person is a vulnerability. Yeah. So there is people continuously learn, and I think that's also very humbling, because people are learning different things. People are getting broader in their knowledge. People are getting more horizontal. People are learning new things as they are emerging, new threats, new dimensions, new phases of attacks, and learning how to defend and stuff like that. So there's continuous learning. So if you're the kind who just wants to get somebody, cybersecurity is not the place to go, or it's not the place to be in. If learning excites you, like me, right? I'm constantly buzzing, right? I want to learn new things. I'm always excited about learning new things. If learning excites you, and if problem solving excites you, then cybersecurity is a place to be. And I'm going to go back again and say, what's it called again? Problem solving, because you're not going to be paid in cyber to cause problems. You're going to be paid in cyber not even to find problems, because even when you find, so even penetration testers, when you find problems, right, you have to say how you fix. So you're not paying to find problems. Right. Yeah. So
yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
So we are paid to solve problems. So if you are that kind of person that loves to solve problems, then yes, definitely you should be in cyber. The first part of your question that talks about where to start from, I want to say that first you should start from where my answer is actually like an answer to your first question as well, which is starting with understanding what the fundamentals, what cybersecurity is, or what information security means, what the fundamental pillars of information security is. You need to understand basics of computing. How do computers talk to each other, for example? What happens on the network when you say this way and guess this way? What happens? What are the different ways that organizations are protected? What are the different threats? You need to understand those fundamentals of computing and fundamentals of information security before you then you look at also what are the different areas, what are different fields within information security. I think that's very, very important, so that as you're learning the fundamentals, you're also able to say, okay, so where do I start off from? Because there's a need to streamline what you're learning. Information security is very, very broad. I mean, people look at it as a dot from outside, but it's a whole different world, like it's a whole huge world on its own. So you need to be able to streamline your learning along the lines of what you think interests you in terms of the different areas in InfoSec. So I'm going to say that, but before I go on to to close and say I finished answering this question, I think one of the key ways you can have that streamlining done is if you join communities. So there are certain communities, for example, that would be able to hold your hand and guide you around what you need to learn at different times, where resources are easily shared. And really, I am also happy to provide that support to you if you need. There are certain people that do this on a day-to-day basis. I mean, look out for them on Twitter. And I would say one of the key things to do while you're starting off in InfoSec is to be actively online, following people that are in the industry already. They will share opportunities. They'll be able to guide you. They may be able to mentor you and also help you get started. So yeah, I would say actively do all of this and you should be fine.
Okay, thank you. So all these will be done and I'm sure we are going to be fine. So in 30 seconds, the final now. What can I do to become the next Confidence? So I'm asking the question for a friend. You mentioned the other time that people everywhere, they are asking about you, telling you to come and join the organization. So someone is asking, what can I do to be the next Confidence? 30 seconds and I'm going to cut you.
Okay, so I'm not going to say that it will be the next confidence because I am one and you always be that one person. You're different and you're unique, right? But the key thing is I would say learn every day. Learning every day, make a habit of learning every day. I learn at least one thing every day, no matter how tired I am. The next key thing I also want to say is that leverage networks, part of networks and actively part of networks. And so, for example, if you're in this place now and this is a network, stay connected because that network is going to really help you. The last thing I'm going to say is also stay visible, show people your learning journey as you're growing up, show people your journey and let people be, the community is I think InfoSec community is the most supportive I've ever seen. You know, they're able to support you as you grow and you go along, and people can also identify with you as you and give you opportunities as you go along. And somebody is saying just have confidence. Yes, definitely just have confidence and show that confidence everywhere possible. And yeah, you will grow at your own pace and reach your greatest height, and possibilities will be there for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Confidence, for that. And the truth is, just have confidence. You've given us a lot of tips today, and I'm sure each and every person on this call would have benefited a lot. I would have wanted to do a quick summary, but this is already 1 o'clock, and we would like to wrap up as soon as possible. Before I call on the person that's going to do the vote of thanks, I want us to just put on our video wherever you are. Put on your video so we can take the photograph. Please put on your video wherever you are. Please put on your video. Please put on your video wherever you are so that we can have the group photograph. Just put on your video. Yes, it would be nice to know that we are all available for this particular occasion. And who knows, probably this would be your passport the next time you get to the airport and they're like, okay, they don't know you, but they know confidence. And you just show confidence in the picture and they're just like, okay, please just proceed. So Samuel, please go ahead and take the pictures. So after the count of 2, please just say confidence, then we'll take the pictures. 1, 2, confidence. Great. So let's take the pictures. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Confidence. Thank you, everyone, for coming. So I'm going to call on Frank now. Sorry, I'm going to call on Samuel Mudupe so that we can have the vote of thanks and wrap up the session for today. Samuel, over to you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Deji. Thank you, Confidence. It's been a very insightful and enlightening session. Have confidence. And we really want to appreciate everyone who has...
Can you please speak up a bit? I'm struggling to hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep, it's better now.
Yeah, okay. So I want to appreciate everyone for being part of this session. We appreciate you. We appreciate you, Deji. We appreciate you, Stanley. I appreciate everyone for making this session happen, for making it a success. I believe every one of us has learned things new, must have learned a lot. And we want to really appreciate you for being part of this session. So on behalf of the executive IC Square Nigeria chapter, we want to appreciate you and thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Deji. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much for that vote of thanks, Samuel. And I'm going to end by saying this. If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. But if you are determined to learn, then I say no one can stop you. Keep learning and meet you at the very top. Thank you very much for coming, for joining the session today. We are going to have this kind of webinar again next month. Please watch out for our flyers and notifications and publications. Then we should have another wonderful experience. Thank you. And from this particular end, bye-bye and stay blessed.
Thank you very much. I see. Thank you very much, Ms. Confidence. Thank you, everyone.